Okay, it's 7 o'clock. Everybody's having so much fun visiting. So would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Excuse me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Leroy is on vacation with his family right now, so you're stuck with me. I've got all these jokes that I'm going to tell tonight.
You've been saving them up, guys. Watch out.
Here we go. Before we move forward with this evening's normal items of business on the agenda, I'd like to take a moment to mention a truly significant accomplishment of one of our City of Newton staff members. Miss Denise Dirksen, who's going to be mad at me for saying this, but our city clerk has been a member of our staff for more than 30 years. She's our official director of fund in addition to her standard city clerk duties. She even has this little drum where when we say something sometimes she goes Her laughter is contagious, and she always has a smile or a moment for a friend or colleague in need. If you feel lucky enough to know Denise, you're truly fortunate. If you haven't got to know her, you're just missing out. We were recently notified by the president of the International Institute of Municipal Clerks that Miss Denise has earned the designation of Master Municipal Clerk, MMC. This designation is only given to the municipal clerks who complete the most demanding educational requirements and have a record of significant contributions to their local government, community, and state. This is an incredibly significant accomplishment, and we want to take a moment to recognize Ms. Denise for obtaining this highly difficult to get designation. Congratulations, Denise.
No speech? I think she's saying no speech.
The only one sitting down was Denise. Good stuff.
Yes. No speech?
Do you want to say something?
Well, I would just say that I would not have been able to obtain that if I was not allowed to go to the classes and the training that I was through the city. So thank you for that opportunity to continue to serve.
Okay. First item is consider the minutes of the September 26th meeting.
I move.
I'll second.
Got a motion and second. All in favor, then say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item number 2, consider an improvement resolution authorizing and finding advisable the improvements on Southwest 24th Street Bridge over Sand Creek. Suzanne or Donna?
Yes. Commissioners, back in September, you approved us moving forward with the project, and the project is out to bid right now. We moved the bid date to November 7th, and so after the bids are received, we'll be bringing that back to you at your next meeting following the bid opening. But we need to approve the funding resolution prior to that, and so you have the funding resolution before you, remembering that this is improvements to that Southwest 24th Street Bridge over Sand Creek. It's going to be painting the steel, the substructure, and going ahead and repairing the deck. It won't be, we will be changing the load limits on the bridge, but they will not be eliminated. But this will get us by with these changes for another 15 to 20 years before we have to do any other work to it.
Anything to add, Donna?
Nope. We need this resolution, that's all.
Okay.
The resolution number will be I-1210.
And move that we approve Resolution I-1210.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item number 3, consider a contract with Health Ministries Clinic. That would be Chris and Kelly.
Yes, sir, I'll take lead on this, and Chris can correct me if I misstate something. As you may recall, since 2012, the city has been in a partnership for, with not just the city, but also Harvey County and several other local entities that provide matching funds for their federal grant application every year. The city typically has provided $40,000, and as I mentioned, since 2012, that has been the standing agreement with us. It's been an informal agreement, and at the direction of the commission for the last several years, staff has been working with all of our outside funding agencies, in addition to health ministries such as the Chamber of Commerce, Safe Hope, Caring Hands. We've been working to get actual written contracts in place so that we have metrics where the commission can decide whether or not they are meeting those required goals for our limited funding that we have to allocate. So this comes before you this evening. This is Health Ministries. Like I said, it's been an ongoing contract. I believe the board has already approved it and signed, or they will shortly. It has been through their legal counsel, and they, Mr. Pankratz has approved it. A little bit more thorough memo in your packet if you should so desire more details, or I can speak to it.
So you meet every year to make sure you agree on the 40,000. When I was reading through this, and I don't pretend to have the understanding that you would, Chris.
Sure.
So it reads that the sum will just carry over from year to year until and unless a new amount is agreed upon. Mm-hmm. But then down here, under funds number 7, it said if it lends itself to basically, and I'm trying to see the part in here where I was reading this. It looks like you come together, though, to make sure this is what you want?
Yeah, the agreement is going to automatically carry over with that $40,000 amount. However, the city can terminate the agreement. Either party can, 90 days notice without cause. There is a provision in there that says that the parties will agree before the end of the calendar year if they're going to amend it. I would advise if the city were to, that those negotiations would occur prior to, December of the calendar year. It's always subject to budget and cash appropriation. That's a requirement for any agreement. So if you don't want it to auto-renew, if you would rather have it come before the city commission every year, we can, of course, amend it. I think this is something that would be marked in part of the budget discussion, and Donna's nodding yes.
That's fine.
We would have plenty of time from the time that the budget's set to either amend the amount, or we can terminate unilaterally. So I think I'm not too worried about the timing. And I see what you're saying with those two provisions being a little bit inconsistent, where it says we're going to come together and agree, but it actually carries over automatically.
That's, clarification on that.
Sure.
I don't think it's necessary to
And I
change it.
believe, madam, that's the same language that's in all of our agreements at this point, or similar, is like it could be terminated or could be amended, if we needed to come together and increase the amount of funding or decrease or whatever the case might be.
Okay. No, I'm good. Thank you.
If you're okay with the current form, it would just be a motion to approve the agreement.
I'll make a motion that we approve.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Item number 4, receive a petition for the vacation of an alley located north of the 500 block of North Plum. Chris.
I can cover this one quickly. This is an alley vacation. It actually falls under the same state statute as taking property outside of the city limits. So at this point, all you need to do is receive the petition and set a hearing date, which staff would advise November 14th. We do need a 20-day window from publication prior to conducting the hearing, and so we wouldn't hit our second October meeting. That is the first meeting in November. So you don't need to make a decision on vacating the alley tonight. There is a map right there just as a preview of the issue. This will be published. There will be a staff report, and the petitioner will be able to address the city commission, and any interested person would be. I think you're all aware, vacating an alleyway, it's an alleyway that's been included in the plat, but it hasn't been constructed. If the city were to vacate the alleyway, we would still reserve utility easements. There'd still be restrictions. Someone wouldn't be able to necessarily build on it if we reserve those utility easements. So tonight, simply receive the petition and advise staff to move forward with conducting a hearing on November 14th.
I'll make a motion that we receive it and that November 14th date to be the date for that.
I second that.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Planning Commission, we need to receive a recommendation of the Planning Commission for the final plat for the Vansickle Addition and consider approving the final plat for the Vansickle Addition. Suzanne?
Yes, Commissioners, the Planning Commission, they heard the request for the final plat at their October 2nd meeting, and they unanimously approved the final plat. This is an area it's a little sliver of property that is north of US 50 out in Lazy Creek Addition. And there's nothing terribly, no reason to be opposed. It's a little bit unique. It's a little sliver of property that was sold to the property owner to the west, and they're wanting to build a building, so they had to go through and plat it because the property was unplatted. So we would recommend that you go ahead and approve it. Oh, one thing, though. Chris, we do need to have the property owner was willing to sign off on the items that they would not oppose any petitions that would come forward for paving of Cottonwood Hill Drive in the future, because if somebody wanted to build on the property to the east, then a petition would be needed for the paving of that road, and this property would need to be in that benefit district.
So if you could make your approval contingent upon city staff and legal counsel's approval of an agreement that sets forth that principle, that would be perfect, right?
So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
single-family home,
No, they're building
they're building a commercial building on it?
They're building some kind of a storage building,
Okay.
yes. And it will be accessed from their house because they're immediately to the west, just to the northwest of the green dot.
All
There
right.
you go.
But I was curious about how they were
So they
gonna get
won't
to
be
it.
accessing the roadway at this point. It would be like an accessory structure in a way.
Utilities,
There will be none for this. And
And
so
and if there
if
are,
they
then-
wanted to add utilities, then yes, they would have to pay
Okay.
to either tie on or to extend. And that's why we didn't want them to oppose any petitions that would be brought forward for extension of utilities or paving. And so we would need you to have two motions, one to receive the recommendation of the Planning Commission, and then B, to consider the approval, subject to them approving or them signing off on no opposition to petitions for utility or paving improvements.
I'd make a motion to receive the recommendation of the Planning Commission for the Vansickle Addition.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
And then I'll make a motion to approve that pending the signature for,
Approval subject to no opposition to petitions for utility or paving improvements.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that,
that.
That's what he said. I think that's what
I'll
he said.
second that.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item number 6, special use permit Receive a recommendation from the Planning Commission regarding a special use permit for a bed and breakfast at 2302 Paddington Avenue, and consider a resolution approving the special use permit for a bed and breakfast at that same address. Suzanne?
Yes, Commissioners, at the same October 2nd Planning Commission meeting, the Planning Commission heard this item requesting the special use permit. This was the first one that the Planning Commission has heard. This is since we have approved the new zoning ordinance and the subdivision regulations. And so there was a little bit of discussion about it, and for any of these that come forward, the Planning Commission is approving this special use permit, and they can add requirements with that special use permit. And the Planning Commission approved it 5-1 in favor of the special use permit. They conducted a public hearing, and they approved it subject to the limitation of only 4 vehicles maximum that would be utilizing this as an Airbnb. This is a bed and breakfast that they're requesting the special use permit for at the 2302 Paddington. And that the term of the SUP would expire on January 1 of 2025. Since we're close to the end of the year, they wanted to give them a little bit longer. And on the 1st of January every year following, the SUP would be renewed by city staff. This is something that in our subdivision regs and your zoning ordinance does allow the staff to renew it unless there are enough complaints that staff then needs to bring it back to the Planning Commission, and then they would do that if they received several complaints. We did have one neighbor that spoke at the Planning Commission meeting at the public hearing. And they were just concerned because it was going to be a turnover. And I don't know, that individual may be here this evening wanting to speak. And so you could consider that this evening. Do you have questions about this?
I'll just speak a little bit to it. I live in this neighborhood, and so our homeowners association had reached out and asked me several months ago, I believe, when this process started, if there was anything that could be done to stop it. The homeowners association was not in favor of approving it. My understanding, our covenants don't restrict it, so there's that, but they were concerned of just use and what would happen in the future with it. I thought that we had talked in the past, so not specifically to this address, but to the Airbnb thing of, creating some kind of policy or something that would sort of regulate or limit use. I don't know what the right words are. I don't want to try to speak as if I knew what we were going to do, but I don't think that had ever happened, had it? And this is, as far as I remember, in 4 years, this is the first that we've approved for an Airbnb. Is that right?
That's correct.
We have other
Maybe it's more nuanced in terms of, this is an SUP for a bed and breakfast as drafted in the code. And we are working on regulations specific to our Airbnb. Are we on the same page on that?
Yes. But the new code allows for it through the SUP process.
Okay.
This is probably the process you're talking about. It has to go through a public hearing, the neighbors have to be notified, as did the HOA. And then that public hearing process took place at the Planning Commission meeting, just like when we do a change of zoning for a property.
Yeah.
So the public hearing takes place, and then there's the waiting period, and then it comes to you all. So I guess this is that process in my mind that you're kind of referencing, is that there is a public hearing and.
Yeah, I mean, I thought when we had talked about it, it was largely due to like what Wichita has experienced with excessive use and those kind of things of the Airbnb. Now, I appreciate 4 cars. That sort of limits that to a certain degree, right? But Chris, is there more? Because I saw you look like maybe.
as at least as I view it, and if there's any concern, we can table this and make sure that we all see this the same. But I don't see it as a short-term rental / Airbnb SUP. I see it as a bed and breakfast.
So are the owners of the property still going to occupy it while people are staying there, or are they going to leave, or are they not going to be at all in the property and people will be allowed to come and go freely?
We would have to look at cross-compare the language of the bed and breakfast provision in the zoning ordinances with the actual language of the SUP. I think it speaks silent to that. I think it's set up to be a hosted.
It's
Bed
to
and
be an Airbnb host home is how it was labeled to the planning commission. An Airbnb host home.
Host home.
So
It's
that would
not
be
really
full home, so
a
that
bed
would
and
be-
breakfast.
Right.
I think the intent is that they would be
I
renting it
guess
out as an
I'm not,
Airbnb.
myself personally, I'm not opposed to it. I live a couple blocks away from there, but I do think that I'm concerned that we don't have enough as far as the city's concerned, as far as just how we handle these properties. I also appreciate less government involvement in some things as well. So I would like to see us table it and just talk more as far as if there is
We
more
want to
that
make sure
needs
we
to
give
be
you
done.
a good answer on that. If you want to table it till the next meeting, we can
I mean,
come
I would,
back with those
yeah,
answers.
I guess, do we need to receive the recommendation and then table? I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I think you could receive the recommendation today and then also have a motion to table it to the October 24th.
Okay, so
meeting.
I'll make a motion to receive the recommendation.
A second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And then I'll make a motion to table the resolution. Is that right?
Right.
Okay.
You might state until when?
Oh, I think until we have,
And I think we could bring this back to you October 24th. I think that's our next scheduled meeting, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
that would be fine, until October 24th.
That's fine, I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor of tabling it until the October 24th meeting, say aye.
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 Opposed? Was there anybody here that wanted to make any comments on this issue? No? Okay. Okay. We're approaching the citizens forum. But first, I wanted to say something. For the last 40 years, I've been blessed to be involved with businesses where I was able to work with city managers and city administrators clear across the country. I've worked with some really good managers and a few great managers, and I've even worked with some pretty crappy managers, actually. But I've never worked with anyone that had more knowledge, better communication skills, a greater ability to build meaningful relationships, or someone more caring about her staff than Kelly McElroy. People might not be aware of Kelly's long resume, her involvement with many Kansas League of Municipality committees, regional economic development groups, transportation committees, university educational groups, and a myriad of other volunteer positions, all while successfully navigating many full-time positions like Community Development Director, Director of Workforce Alliance, Executive Director of Regional Economic Development Partnership, Assistant City Manager, and most recently, the Newton City Manager. I've personally seen Kelly in action with economic development prospects, at social events and business meetings, and as a leader in meetings with city staff. Newton has been blessed to have her as the head cheerleader and promoter of all things Newton. This will be Kelly's last city commission meeting, and while we'll miss Kelly deeply, it's a tribute to her leadership for her to be able to leave knowing that our city is in such good hands with staff that she helped develop into a very cohesive, knowledgeable, transparent, fun, interesting group of dedicated, service-oriented people. Kelly, we love you. We wish you the best and pray for future success in all that you do. She wanted me to surprise Denise.
We'll get you next meeting.
That's what I get, right? Turnabout's fair play is the old expression, right? So thank you all very much. It's been truly a huge honor and privilege to serve this community and to work with my team every day. I will miss all of you so very much.
We'll have the Citizens Forum. We do have an executive session on an economic development prospect after that, of which we aren't going to be making any decisions. So if you don't want to, you don't have to stick around. But we have one person on the Citizens Forum, Pam Stevens. I wonder what Pam's going to talk about.
Yeah. Good evening, Vice Mayor and Commissioners. Here tonight to invite you to Taste of Newton on Thursday night. I have maps for each one of you. So.
Thank you.
Got to plan out my route.
Yeah.
Watching the weather.
Oh, is it supposed to be okay?
Windy.
And hopefully no rain. We'll see. There's
you.
a chance, but we're keeping our fingers crossed.
Do you have a large print version?
This is it.
I know.
Back here for you.
I have to do it so I can read it because
She's got
there's
one
a lot.
that turns into
And you can
napkins for
see
Rich.
we're also special thanks to our event partners, the Newton, City of Newton and Bethel College, because it starts Fall Fest, and then our block sponsors that are helping sponsor the event. Toby will have a booth at 6th and Main, so he's ready. I told him, get your cinder blocks ready because you got to hold down that tent. We've had tents airborne before, so we're hoping we won't, but I think this is going to be one of our largest ones. It's the fullest we've been, and so people keep wanting to add. Our thoughts going forward, do we want to add another block or not? But we even had people calling from Wichita, said this sounds like the way Riverfest used to be, and I said, I agree. I think come down, you'll have a great time. Just Riverfest isn't quite what it used to be, and so maybe we can haul them all to Newton to enjoy the evening. So we're excited. Also, I wanted to bring you, we've worked at our office for Main Street to work on a new map with Andrea Breaker to kind of highlight downtown so that we have something to hand out to people when they come in. So I want to make sure you get one of those too.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of highlights the downtown retail and restaurants.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you.
Just wanted to give you a little update, and hopefully we'll see you downtown Thursday night. Thank you.
Forward to it.
Thank you, Pam. Let's go ahead and go around the horn before we go into executive session, and let's go that way.
Well, just bear with me, I'll make it as quick as possible. I might, Pam, if any of that I'm going to share here is incorrect, please correct me. I know that the third Thursdays are going to, I think it's important to share this, and I should have been sharing this all along. I attend the Downtown Promotions Committee that meets once a month, and I know people are listening online, so it's a good opportunity to let people know that the third Thursdays are going to continue, third Thursday shopping, until the end of the year, and then after Thanksgiving, it will be every Thursday until the end of the year. And then the Taste of Christmas is coming up before you know it, from November 9th through the 11th. So it's a good opportunity to kind of be thinking ahead on that. Had a great night last night at the Senior Center, and their huge potluck. And then tonight, the American Legion, I thought this was great. They had a female Vietnam veteran from the Navy. They're sharing, her name was Marie Paul, and she was a Navy Corps hospital corpsman from 69 to 91. It was really interesting to hear everything that she was sharing. Wow. And then I am so glad, I think most of the commission here had the opportunity, first of all, a couple weeks ago we got to meet with KDOT with regard to the 36th Street. I think it's incredible to look at all that stuff and everything that's going to be done. It's exciting to look forward to that. I really appreciated the opportunity that we had last week to go to the local consult meeting. And we got to have breakaway sessions, and here you have all these people from the different communities surrounding, and we're just talking about all these traffic issues and all of these issues that need to be fixed. And it was so interesting to hear everybody's take on, you know, this bridge or this interchange or the one in Wichita. A lot of people talked about that. But I think our takeaway from that was that the Meridian and 50 exchange is the top notch. That was exciting. So and it was just exciting to hear people and then to understand this more. So I know, Suzanne, you couldn't be there, but thank you for the opportunity and thank you for urging the commission to be there and to really get involved in that. That was good for us, and I really appreciated the opportunity. So thank you. And I think that's about it.
Okay.
So
I just wanted to fill you in on how we're doing on budget billing. I don't want you to think I forgot about it. We've been trying to work with Tyler Technologies, which is our software, and getting them aboard and getting things done. The people who volunteered will be hearing from Marilyn in the next week or so we can get you set up, and we're going to start with you guys kicking it out. So we are working on it.
Suzanne?
Yeah, I would report that you all did a really good job at the KDOT local concert. So kudos to you for being there, being present, and talking through your priorities. That's good. And you'll have an opportunity to do that again in 2 years if you're still in the commission. Every 2 years they have.
yeah, that was good.
Lots of economic development people showed up with Beth,
Yeah.
too, so,
Yeah, we tried to get them all there.
yep. Chris?
No, sir.
Kelly?
No, sir, thank you.
It's your last chance.
I know. And for a change, I'll keep my mouth shut.
Clint?
Yeah, I have two things. First, I just want to acknowledge Kelly's last evening here. Kelly has become a friend. She's provided references for me and has helped my wife even with some resume stuff. And just, I think if distance wasn't a factor, we would have been much even better friends than what we were. So Kelly lives away from the city and we live here, and oftentimes our lives didn't cross outside of city commission stuff. But I remember when I ran, and right after we got elected, Rich, there was a meeting and we went through the hiring of a new city manager, and we were out at the airport. And I don't remember the specifics of who all we met with or anything like that, but I remember the one thing that came to mind was we got to the end of the day and many of us looked at each other and we just said, why isn't Kelly our city manager?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I remember just the thought of that it would be difficult to be on the commission, there would be challenges. And as I'm coming to the end of my commission term and not running again, I consider the last 4 years as actually being a huge blessing. I've really enjoyed being able to be a part of the commission. Not only with the 5 commissioners, and they've become friends, all of them have, but Kelly as well. And I attribute that to working with any of the city people or any of the city departments and different areas that we've been involved in the last 4 years, just to your leadership in the city. And so I appreciate your friendship and your leadership to the city. And it's been, 4 years, at least with us working together. But I know 4 years that because of our friendship, I'll look favorably upon in my own life. So I appreciate all that you've done. And I know that we'll see each other in the future. So excited for you, but sad for us at the same time. And then the second thing I just want to say, and this is maybe more personal, we've saw what's been happening in the Middle East over the past few days. And I have some friends there that live in Israel. As some of you know, I've spent some time over there, and my heart has just been sad to see what's going on. But I only say that to say just what a privilege it is to be in the United States and to live here. I was talking to a friend last night in Wichita, and we have a disagreement on our understanding of what's happened in the Middle East and what's happening there, specifically in Israel and with the Palestinian people. But even in that own disagreement, we could walk away from it and still be friends. And what's happening there is so religious in nature that it's so hard for them to walk away and find any kind of resolve. So, I mean, we come here to this meeting, and I just talked about the last 4 years and how good it's been. I mean, we're talking about Airbnbs, and we're talking about whether or not we want to have an alley remain an alley, and we're talking about, we've had some more difficult conversations, I understand that. But we leave here with little fear of returning home safely. We gather with friends. We're going to gather Thursday night at the Taste of Newton, right? So everybody come, and there's going to be very few people that go there with any fear of anything happening, if anybody at all. We just gather together so freely, and we're very fortunate. So I say all that to say my heart hurts for what's happening over there. But also to know just how thankful I am to be here and to be in a country that I send my kids to school every day and relatively no fear of them going. I drove here tonight with no fear of anything happening. We could disagree with citizens, and I've never left here thinking, oh my goodness, that person is going to hunt us down later tonight and try to kill me and my family. Been a few people I've questioned, but never feared.
I thought about it once.
I've been escorted home once.
Yeah, but I mean, my heart is sad for two reasons tonight. Kelly leaving and what's going on over there, so.
Commissioner Valentine stole my thunder. That KDOT local consult was amazing. It was pretty awesome. But the aspect that I really loved was how the small communities came together to help pitch each other's projects. And we got a lot of support out of Kingman, a lot. And we also got Hillside put on the list that wasn't on the list and everything. So hopefully that'll pan out and everything.
Yeah. It was really interesting. I've lived on the west side of Wichita years ago, and two other people that were there both lived on the west side of Wichita. None of us live on the west side of Wichita now, but we were all really pumping up that 235 and the Zoo Boulevard, and the poor young man from MKEC was sitting behind us. Felt sorry for him because we were asking, why did you do the 13th Street ramp? And it's horrible. And it's horrible to get on off of Central with that. And we were just going off. The poor thing, I felt so sorry for him. He sat there and just almost shrunk because I said, oh my gosh, hope you didn't have anything to do with that. Maybe you did. But
He said I personally designed it.
Probably.
it was just so interesting to see people fighting for their projects. I mean, really getting in there and urging. It was good. Really appreciated it. So.
And if I may, Commissioner, if you don't have another comment on that, to Commissioner Cry's point, one of the things I've been privileged to be able to participate in is through the Wichita Chamber, we have a transportation coalition for the 9 to 10 counties that REAP covers, and I am the vice chair of that. And so we have come together as those 9 or 10 counties, and we have literally tiered priorities, first, second, and third, and then they're also broken out into whether it's highway and byway transportation kind of things, or whether it's air transportation and airport funding, or rail. And rail can also be freight rail and passenger rail. And so it's divided up that way as well. But we have been advocating for this group of projects that the entire region, and it's the mayors and or vice mayors and city managers, public works directors. I know Suzanne's been on that group for a long time. And so we have had this list going. And when Secretary Lorenz was the KDOT secretary, she mentioned to us several times that she was just floored and pleased and awed that this region would come together and jointly prioritize those projects versus fighting amongst themselves. And she always said, please always advocate for your own, of course. But she was just absolutely floored that we have put so much work and time and effort into building this coalition. And it's really paying off because a lot of these projects have been funded because we prioritize versus fighting or competing amongst ourselves. So it's been a really great coalition effort.
Cool.
I'm done.
Anything else? Okay. I had a couple of things. First, I want to talk about our staff. You know, with Kelly leaving, it really is amazing. You know how little sleep I've lost over wondering how things are going to go when Kelly's gone.
How it should be.
That is super comforting to know that everybody, you know, does what they do, not just well, but exceptionally well. You know, all the way from communications to engineering to finance to legal to the queen of laughter over there. So we are blessed as a commission to not have to worry about that because there's plenty of other things to worry about. And this is election season. I do want to urge everybody to pay attention. I know a lot of people don't know who they're going to vote for till they go into the voting booth, but it's so important that you do your homework before you get there. It should be just very obvious to you, you know, who the best candidates are if you make any effort whatsoever A lot of these candidate forums are going to be online, and if you can't be there live to watch them, then watch them online and listen to their answers and figure out who you think will best represent the city. It's real important that you don't just pick an issue and listen to one sentence in what somebody says and make a and vote based on something you think somebody might have something to do with that they really might not have much control over. You got to elect the good people. You got to elect the people that understand what's going on in a city and how cities operate. So usually a community gets what they deserve from a voting episode. If they don't take the time to do it right, then they might not end up with as good of a result as if they did their homework and tried to figure out who would best represent the city. So anyway, enough said. It's time for our executive session. And Beth, how much time do you think? 15 minutes. Okay. If somebody wants to read the motion.
Oh, I will. I move that the City Commission recess into executive session to conduct discussions regarding an industrial prospect. The justification for closing the meeting is to discuss data relating to the financial affairs or trade secrets of corporations, partnerships, trusts, and individual proprietorships. The time and place at which the open meeting shall resume is, since we're between, what time is it?
7:55.
7:55? Okay, 7:55 PM in Commission chambers.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you for coming, those of you that are going home. We will resume our regular meeting, and I declare this meeting adjourned.